Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alec Reed. This is my channel Alec Reed, and today we're reading chapter 97, Trapped in the Dark of Marriage, a heartstopper fanfiction. Also, I'm really sorry that I took time off. The video that I posted yesterday should explain why I left, and the main gist of that is just me and my partner decided to break up. So it's been a difficult couple of days, but I want to continue reading these stories for you guys and continue with my channel and continue with the same amount of joy and everything that I originally had for this channel. So let's jump right into the video. Chapter 97, Trapped in the Dark, Charlie's Perspective. As the boys walked out of the restaurant to feel the warm yet crisp weather, they interlocked their fingers and started to stroll towards the apartment that was a near 10-minute walk. Their friends had left and got into their boring everyday vehicle and drove off. Both couples waved their goodbyes, leaving Charlie wondering what was going on with his fiancée, who was cold and distant. That wasn't like him at all. He was a big teddy bear normally, who loved to laugh and bud into conversations, bringing up old stories to tell everyone just to make them laugh. He loved making people happy or warm in his presence, but he wasn't like that today. He just wasn't. And don't think Charlie didn't notice right away. I held Nick's hand as we walked through the park and down the pier. I wanted to ask, but didn't know the right time. Was now the right time? A better time than any, I guess. Nick, I know I asked you earlier, but are you okay? Did something happen? He hesitated twice before saying, "No, I'm fine." He smiled and kissed me tenderly on the lips. Nick's perspective. I told Charlie nothing had happened. It was like reflex to lie and keep the truth from him. But everything was sunshine and rainbows, and that I'm totally fine and happy when I'm not right now. I'm sad and I feel like I'm disgusting. At any moment I could burst into tears. My chest feels heavy, like 1,000,000 pounds. I feel heavy. I know I want to tell Charlie, so why didn't I? Because this was easier. Of course, that's what I tell myself. Hiding it deep down inside me is easier, but it isn't though. It's not easier. Why did I want to make everything so difficult for myself? I hate it when Charlie lies and hides things that bother him from me. It makes everything harder, and we get into arguments or are on the completely wrong page. We're so out of sync. Kind of like right now, and that's not what I want. Actually, there is something bothering me a little, I said in a quiet voice, knowing Charlie would never judge me, especially in this situation. But the fear was still lingering in a shadow that follows behind you on a sunny day. Nick, don't be nervous to tell me. I'll help you through anything, Nick said, looking at me with such heart and acceptance. Tao kind of said that I was gaining weight and said I was too. And I don't know. I felt bad about myself after. Sort of felt like you were going to leave me because I don't look how I did a few years ago. Charlie's perspective. I stumbled backwards a little. I wasn't just mentally taken back, but physically too. My mind started playing tricks on me, making up fake situations. Nick was never going to eat again and starve to death. And I would be left. My whole life would be miserable. I don't even remember life without Nick. We were so young when we got together. That was us being together like breathing. We need each other. Was he cutting himself? Did he want to die? Did I make him feel this way? Did this is my fault? No, it's Tao's. Maybe it's both of ours. My mind was like a circus of emotions, memories, blame, and regret. Everything was functioning all at once until it wasn't. Everything went quiet. Dark. Nick's perspective. Charlie, breathe. Charlie was having a panic attack. Shit, I should have told him this at home, not in the middle of a city park. That destroyed me the most was the look on his face when I told him. He looked so scared, and that's the moment I knew that I couldn't do this to him. I couldn't do this to myself. I needed to love and accept the fact that I am healthy and it shouldn't matter what I look like. Charlie would never leave me for anything as stupid as body image. I stood in front of Charlie trying to convince him to slow his breathing. Char, calm down. It's okay. I didn't realize the extent this would trigger him. I do understand how hard it is for your loved one to go through this. I've been going through this for years and will continue to be there for him. Help him even if it hurts me, because that's what you do for family. You sacrifice. His eyes rolled to the back of his head. His eyes were twitching now. I tapped his face, but then he went limp. I luckily caught him in time, but it was definitely close. He almost hit the ground. I picked him up bridal style and went off the park path and into the trees where no one would bother us. If he didn't need to go to the hospital, then I will make sure he doesn't end up there. I sat down against a large tree, holding Charlie in my arms. He's passed out in the past while having panic attacks from not eating, although it's extremely scary and my heart was racing, my hands were shaking. I needed to stay calm and try to wake him up. I could see his heart beating, but I checked his pulse just because I needed the extra reassurance. His pulse was fine. He just needed to wake up. Charlie, Charlie, I said over and over while lightly tapping his face. Charlie's mind. The boy's mind was dark and dim. He could hear his fiancée faintly calling his name. He tried to get to him, but his body was limp, and he was trapped inside his mind. Stood there looking around, but all he could see was darkness. Then echoed voices that were his own filled the quiet void of nothingness. He's going to turn out like you, the voice repeated over and more until you could barely make out what the voice was saying, because the voices were overlapping, plus getting louder and louder. The boy had sat on the ground and covered his ears, trying to shut out the ear-bleeding voices, but then the faint noises coming from his boyfriend got louder and clearer. Charlie, come on. Char, you're scaring me. The boy got up and followed the voice until Nick's perspective. Oh my God, Charlie, you're okay. His eyes fluttered open and he gazed up at me. He didn't even bother looking to see where he was or what happened. He just stared at me. I promise I will never think like that again. I promise I won't put you through that again, I said with depression in my voice, so desperate for him to believe me. I pulled him into me, gripping him like I would never let go. I kissed his head over and over, and until he looked up at me and offered his lips. Nick leaned down and kissed Charlie on the lips, so gently. If you could show the meaning of true love in a kiss, this would be it. The two boys were sat underneath a dark pine tree, hidden away from reality. The small The smaller, weaker boy was laid in his fiance's arms, feeling so loved and exhausted, while the other boy cared and nurtured him, and would soon carry the weak boy back to their home. Chapter 98. Weird seeing you here. Nick's perspective. I carefully stood up, lifting Charlie's limp body with me. He was awake, but very exhausted. His eyes were shutting now, and he looked as if he was trying his best to keep them open. His hands were barely holding on to me, any slight pressure on them, and they would give out. Charlie liked being carried at home, but it's just us. But he hates even being given a piggyback ride in public. It makes him an easy target for eyes, which Charlie really didn't like. It's true. People will stare. It's a gay couple basically screaming, "I'm gay," and there's always going to be homophobic assholes on this earth who don't like it. Charlie wouldn't let me carry him in public, but right now, he was silent complaint. He didn't even argue when I told him I was going to carry him home. If you know Charlie, you know he can't hide his pain better than anyone. Last time we went to the beach, he was so tired when we went on a walk that he was basically dragging himself along and refused to let me know he was tired because he felt like a burden. Eventually, I got it out of him, and he let me carry him back to the blanket to have a nap. But it was hard to get him to give in and let me help him. That's how I know he's completely drained right now. He hasn't even protested and the help I was offering. Rather, he accepted it right away and fell into my arms, wanting to be carried. We were walking by a small little pop-up market. The shop was barely a tent. It had no walls, only a roof to provide shelter from the ever-changing weather. I went up to the stall and pulled open my wallet and bought a bottle of water and a vitamin water that were stored in a cooler. When we arrived at the cafe this morning, it was cold, but now it was hot. Sweat was dripping down my face and Charlie's. Charlie didn't say a word as I walked to the lady manning the shop quickly before getting back to walking. I wanted to get Charlie home as fast as possible. I put my hand on his forehead and it was burning up and soaking from sweat. I spotted a park bench and a few meters from us and headed there. I sat down, still cradling Charlie in my arms. He opened his eyes and looked up in confusion. "Where are we?" "Charlie, you are really hot, and you're wearing a sweater. You're going to get heat stroke or get ill." I started to pull off his sweater, but he put his hand over mine and managed to croak. "Nick, don't." That's when I realized he wasn't wearing a shirt underneath the sweater. I took off my shirt, then quickly took off Charlie's sweater, ignoring his protests. I didn't want to explain to him. He'll understand in a second. I put the much too large shirt on him so he could be less hot, but still covered up. He gave me a quick smile, and I opened the water bottle, pouring some of the ice-cold water onto my hand, then gently pressing my hands onto his forehead. He winced as the cold water hit his forehead, but soon he relaxed, feeling the relief of the cold water cooling his much too hot head. "Open your mouth, love," I said as I tapped his lips with my index finger. I put the vitamin water up to his mouth and poured some in, hoping getting some vitamins in him will give him some strength. I could tell he was extremely dizzy and lightheaded, and I felt awful for him. I wish we would just go home and I could lay him down on the couch so he could get some rest. "Nick?" I hear a familiar voice call from a short distance away. "Harry?" "Mate, is Charlie okay?" Harry says, as he stood beside us looking down at Charlie, who's drinking water like he's been in the desert for days. He's fine, just having trouble in the heat." I wasn't going to tell this dick the real story. He wasn't worth it. Shit, he doesn't look well. Do you need a ride? I insist I take you both home. As much as I didn't want to be anywhere near Harry, this was the best for Charlie, so of course I was going to take him up on his offer. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that, I said skeptically. He led the way to his car, which I was expecting to be a Porsche or BMW, but was a Honda SUV, just an ordinary everyday car. I got in the front with Harry so I could give him directions. Charlie was doing better now and was sitting in the back. Thanks, Charlie said, and Harry turned to look at him and sincerely said, Mate, please don't thank me. This is the least I could do for all the shit I've done. You need anything, call me. Was Harry actually saying sorry for what he did? Did he finally wake up and realize that being a dick isn't cool? Harry looked at me now. Hey, I want to apologize. I was a fucking prick, and you didn't deserve that. You and Charlie are perfect for each other. I'm sorry I couldn't just be happy for you. I patted his shoulder. Wow, thanks, Harry. We pulled up to our apartment now, and he stopped the car, as I told him this was our destination. As I opened my door to leave, he pulled me back. Nick, can we maybe talk sometime? I nodded my head. Yeah, cheers, mate. Cheers, he said as I opened the door and picked Charlie up, carrying him out of the car and towards our building. Alright, everyone, this is the end of today's episode. I really hope that you guys enjoyed. Next time we will be reading chapter 99, Why I Love You. Also, in the intro, you might hear, meowing at my door. It's my cat. He really wants to come in my office, and I said no, so he decided to make his argument known this time when I was filming. So sorry about that. But he wanted to say hello, so he's there. Anyway, subscribe, comment down below, whether it's leaving recommendations or whether it's just saying hello, and I will see you guys in the next video. Good morning, good night, or good afternoon. Goodbye, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.